giving it prime time. Now ulti like LeBlanc can copy that 4 times, but manlier. Knock it up like now, fight planning a family-er. You gotta be tuned in like Sona on the ed wall. Get on the chat call. Can a podcast really be all that? Of course. How do 4 guys make a track force?
Hey guys, welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, and I am your host for this evening. I am joined by actually a great group of guys for this week.
Ooh.
Is that different than normal?
Yeah, I was going to say, what makes that so much different than how it usually is?
Because it's normally, we don't have great guys. We have 4 great guys and a girl. So I can't say great group.
So the girl's not great?
Well, no, she is. She's a great girl, too.
That's not what you said.
You just say great group of girls. It'll cover it.
All right, you know, I'm going to start saying it. I'm here with a great group of girls.
There you go.
That's
We're all
perfect.
covered.
Yeah, DeClawd's here.
Howdy.
Chira.
Hi.
Punch.
Hey, guys.
And sitting in for Days, who has a massive eye infection, is Mitch Cereal Box.
I can kind of talk support, so I guess it'll hopefully be 1-to-1.
He is from the LCS Rundown. If you guys don't listen to that podcast, you should definitely go listen to it. They have been doing a wicked, fantastic job this season.
Is that supposed to be like a Boston thing for Mott? Like the wicked comments?
No, I'm just saying. I was trying to think of a good way to say that. You know, you're doing.
And
you guys doing awesome.
Days has the accent. Yeah, true.
You guys
don't have Yad, so
you guys.
I'm not
going
to be able to replicate that.
You just passed your year anniversary, right?
Yeah.
For the show?
We just passed a year. We just had our 51st episode on Monday, and yeah, I think we're gonna catch up to you guys eventually. It definitely is going to happen when we're doing 1 less episode per week.
Right, absolutely.
Yep, that's how it works.
They have interviewed a couple of challenger teams as well. Enemy Esports on episode number 49, and who was the one? I can't remember the name of the other one before that.
Inertia Gaming, who is trying to get into challenger. Haven't made it quite yet. Obviously, that would be for next split, but that we're going to hopefully get them back on some other time because it was a lot of fun interviewing them, and I'm sad I missed on the Enemy one, but. Hopefully we'll have more teams because right after we interviewed them, Enemy went 2-0 their week in the Challenger Series. So we're hoping that kind of luck can translate to whoever we interview.
Yes, exactly. And, you know, if you guys aren't already watching the LCS Rundown, or if you are listening to it, or, you know, whatever, or not listening to it, I should say, go check them out. It's at trinityforcepodcast.com. They have really hit their stride now. If you listened to it a year ago and you saw, you know, they were I will admit some of the times they were a little struggling, but it's something that, you know, new podcasts go through. There's growing pains with it. And they have a great group of guys. You have pretty much the same people there every week, besides, I think Sifa's the only one who's been, like, flaky recently, right? Actually, I think it feels like everybody, actually. It's like this rotating group of 5 people.
We have 5 every week. It's just we might have only 2 from the previous week, is what it usually ends up being. So it's been all over the place, but we've had a lot of help from producers who watch the LCS, who are very knowledgeable. CSLE came in last week, and a few weeks beforehand. So it's been nice to be able to have people cover for us when we have to be out of town or have other obligations.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, again, guys, go check them out, lcs.trinityforcepodcast.com. I have a whole slew of announcements to get into, then we're going to spend some extra time on patch 5.4 tonight. It's a giant patch, but I have some pretty big announcements to talk to you about. First and foremost, if you are looking to grab a t-shirt, we are running a brand new campaign called the King DeClawd campaign. A big smile came across DeClawd's face. I actually have entitled it Show the Rift Who is King. King DeClawd reigns supreme over the Rift, and now you can show the world your dedication to our Pantheon-loving, Syndra-maining badass. So, guys,
I think you swapped those two.
Pantheon-loving? Yeah, I guess you're right. Syndra-loving, Pantheon-maining really should be what it is, shouldn't it?
Unless mating Syndra means having her as a daughter somehow.
I mean,
then it would fit.
Kind of, maybe.
It does both. We're
it does both. Regardless, though, as long as you don't play like me, you can be a king wearing that shirt.
Right, so if you guys are checking that out, go to teespring.com/KingDC to check out the t-shirt. It says King DeClawd on it. It's got a little crown on the top of the K. It is $16 to buy a t-shirt. There is also a 8-ounce heavy blended hoodie, which is $38, and there is a woman's tee, which is $24. Women's tee is a little bit more expensive because it's a different kind of material. Unfortunately, they don't have like a lot when it comes to women's tees. If you're out there, you can still wear the, it's an American apparel. It's a nicer t-shirt. We marked it a little lower at $16 because we wanted to be able to ship for under $20 to the domestic delivery in America. So if you buy it, shipping is $3.50 in America. It is what is it, $10.50 internationally and $7.50 to Canada. And right now we've only had 3 people buy it, but I've only put it on Twitter since you've heard this podcast. There are only 50 of these available, and it goes for 21 days.
I should probably buy one.
You might want to mention that it's Teespring, T-E-E, Spring, in case everyone starts like looking around and can't find it and get really pissed off and say, oh, all 50 are gone already.
Good call. TEE Spring.
So go to teespring.com/KingDC and check out the King DeClawd shirt. Go buy yourself one. You're supporting the podcast. So if you've been thinking about donating, buying this actually supports the podcast.
And you get something.
And you get something for it.
Yeah, that's the best. That's the best.
I'm going to get one and try to make the crown bounce.
I'm going to make sure you
You know what?
That's
You
great.
should get one and try to make the crown bounce in front of everybody.
Okay.
That's going to be a really weird show, isn't it?
I mean,
you must have missed it a few
We've got
minutes
nothing
back.
to talk about, and now
it's already,
Oh, no, I
it's
saw
already
before the
stepped
show.
into the
I saw
weird
before the
realms.
show.
Right.
Yeah.
Two other quick announcements. The Battle Arena SmackDown edition signups, I said they're going to go live this week. They go live on March 1st at bit.ly/BA SmackDown. Again, it's only the first 10 people that sign up. I will take a few reserves for that day just in case somebody doesn't sign up or they have to leave. But I guarantee nothing after the 10, and I'll email the 10 if they sign up. I realized to drop in the bucket. I explained it last week, but just have bit.ly/BA SmackDown ready to go on March 1st. It'll be up, and you can sign up. And,
March 1st is the deadline for the... Well, what's the deadline for signing up? Like, when is the...
It's going to be filled up by the end of the week on March 1st, so I'm not even worried about a deadline.
Does it go live at midnight?
Yes. Midnight.
When
All
is it
right,
happen?
be ready, people.
It happens on midnight?
11:59. Get ready.
Not on
Hit
midnight.
F5
No.
constantly.
Yep.
Minute
The
1.
sign-up goes live at midnight. But when is the actual SmackDown?
It is, I was going to say that. It's on March 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/T-Force Podcast. March 28th. So if you're signing up for that and you want to know,
What day
March
is
28th,
that?
7. That's a Saturday.
All right, 7 p.m. I'll just be arriving at work. All right.
Yes, and it's Eastern Time. If we ever do anything, it's Eastern Time because that's when I'm throwing stuff up. So if you could be 3 hours behind. Last bit of announcement. This Saturday, it won't be live, but you'll be able to catch the podcast. Chira and I are going to be interviewing Weldon Green and Chris Alphanar, I believe is how you say his name. Weldon is the sports psychologist for the Copenhagen Wolves. So that should be a really interesting podcast. It'll be a third
That's
one
gonna
for
be
this
cool.
week. And yeah, you guys, that'll be right in your iTunes feed, however you subscribe. You'll just have it normally, but just let you know, expected third podcast this week from the sports psychologist. This should be a really fun episode.
Are you going to cast it live on Twitch or?
No, because it goes the same time that Bronze Boot Camp does.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's going to be recording only, and it should be available when?
It'll be available that Sunday.
Sunday.
Sunday or
This-
early Monday morning. But it'll
This
be
coming,
available.
the 2nd?
Yes,
Oh, okay. Great.
because it's this Saturday. It's going to happen on the 28th of February.
Yeah, it should be fascinating. I'm looking forward to hearing that.
Oh, Underrated Noob said
Oh, yeah.
he
So
got
the
his
first.
T-shirt.
I'm sorry.
Rock on. Yes. Anyway,
Awesome.
last little bit of information here. If you would like to donate to the podcast, you go to trinityforcepodcast.com/donate. And we did have a donation that came in this week. Gotta hit him donated $100, and he had this to say: "Great podcast on Monday." So this last Monday's 237. What was even better was getting to play an in-house game with you guys after the podcast. I was Punch's support playing Braum. Never played with a higher level of players, and this made my week. Keep up the great work.
Thanks for playing with me, buddy.
Good choice.
And I'm sorry for taking all those creeps that you were going to kill with Targons, but you were
I know,
juking
what
me
the hell?
out, man. Like I would wait for you to hit the creep, and then you walk away from it, and just like killed it, you'd walk back to it. I was freaking out. I didn't know what was going on, but I apologize. It's my bad. It's my
It is
bad.
your
I'll communicate more next time.
Yeah, that's right. But if you guys want to play, we do play in-houses after every podcast on Monday and Wednesdays. There's a lot of in-houses to go on during the weekends. Just join the TeamSpeak, ts@trinityforcepodcast.com. That's like 15 minutes worth of announcements. We are now going to chalk on that extra 10 minutes. I said 15, but we're going to now chalk on that extra 10 minutes and talk an hour about patch 5.4, which I know you all came here to listen to. And I don't have the patch notes up. Let's pull
I
them
do.
up.
Wow.
We can start with your
Got 'em.
champion, Azir.
Oh, just the LCS fantasy bug fix?
I know. This is good, though, because I've noticed it.
gigantic.
Like, how the hell
Oh,
did
yeah.
they kill 10 towers already?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's definitely noticeable.
Yeah.
Showed up all the time.
It
I
just
thought
calculate killing his towers as actual towers and the little tower killed stat up in the
right,
corner.
I thought it might be intentional at first because the gold you got from that was so significant, but it doesn't really make sense, I guess, in the fantasy LCS world.
Yeah, when
Doesn't
you're trying
it
to
give you,
see
like, 50 gold?
even towers.
What?
I have
Does
no
it?
idea.
I thought it gave a lot more than that. thought it gave 100 at least.
125 or 100, does
It
it?
definitely doesn't. It doesn't give a full tower's worth. I think it was only like 50 or so.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I think we'd all know
that little ticker won't be
Yeah.
there.
Just spent too much time on that change.
Janna.
I guess I'm letting DeClawd run this podcast.
All right,
For it.
we're moving on to Janna. Her passive, Tailwind. They removed the part where it gives Janna bonus movement speed. It's a nerf to her W. Get to Janna. There's a new part of it now. Tailwind now gives all allies in range, so it's in a range, a movement speed bonus only while they're moving toward Janna. And they cranked it up from 5% to 8%, and they increased the range of those allies from 1,000 to 1,250. So you got to move towards her, though, to get that.
So she gets a free captain's enchant.
Pretty much.
Right.
Well, but she kind of loses what she used to have. Like she already had like a much larger captain's enchant range, but it didn't need to be moving towards her. I don't think.
No,
I don't know what
it's just
what
movement speed bonus. That's
Anybody
all.
around?
Yeah, but they already had like it's like the captain. It's a pretty, I don't want to say sizable nerf, but her utility gets hit.
Well, when we
still.
say it was, I mean, it functions like the captain's enchant.
Yeah,
Strictly speaking, it's a worse passive because it's not global, obviously, but and because you have to move towards her in order to gain it.
Right.
Well, no, it wasn't
be within
global
range.
just recently. Like it had already been.
Yeah,
it was nerfed.
it was
away from being
1,000
global.
before. Now it's 1,250.
Yeah.
It was 1,000
It's-
before with 5% to everybody within that radius. Now it's 8% to everybody within 1,250 range, but they have to be moving towards you. So
Okay.
So it's kind of, they changed it. You're right. They nerfed the whole utility of it where, okay, I'm standing here. Everybody can move faster to engage if they want to or wherever they're going. Now it's you run at me, and otherwise you're your normal 8% less movement speed.
It's kind of weird to me though, because she's never really in front of a team. Like unless she's trying to make a play like a flash ult or something. Usually she's going to be behind your team, and then it would only be when someone's running away that you'd really benefit from that passive now.
And that makes sense to me, as she's in order to help her as a disengaged support. If that's what she's going to be played as someone that helps the team kite away from the enemy team, then this is what helps her do that.
And that's her strength. And Zephyr, the base movement speed on it was changed at all ranks. It was increased. So from 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 to 9, 11, 13, 15, 17. So it's a little odd, because before it was even, but it's more. So.
Well, it's actually not though. The move speed from her passive just got moved to it. That she had when W's up. Now it's actually when she W's, she completely loses that.
Her. Yeah. Now
I know, but
speed
but
is
that 5.
You're right.
That 5 just got moved.
When you look at it.
Well, I think it's funny that they're giving this Tailwind passive. It makes sense with I won't say with the thematics of the character. Well, I guess kind of with the theme of the character being a windy, cloud-based character or weather-based character, and the fact that she does have a Tailwind now. But I find it funny that as soon as she uses W to disengage and champions are running at her, that once the champions pass her and she's using W to try to disengage, using Q to disengage, you lose that movement speed buff. So you can, I guess, as they assume that you're already safe if you're behind Janna, and now Janna is the wall that stands in between you and the enemy team. So to run at a Janna, she's never going to. I'm not going to say never. It's just I find it really weird that they made this so that you have to run at the Janna in whatever way the Janna's going. You have to follow Janna around to gain the movement speed is essentially what you have to do. And once you pass the Janna, you lose everything you had. And now she is stuck. If she uses W, she doesn't have the movement speed anymore to slow somebody down. So she's sacrificing herself to slow one person down. Now that's probably not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, and I'm probably overthinking it. I just Tailwind. I kind of turn my eyebrow up at it and go, "That's interesting."
Yeah. I'm curious just to see how this affects Janna play. I don't play Janna, so anyone
it's also
here play Janna?
like the lane thing is where.
Like, how does it affect how she feels when you're playing her?
I'm sure it doesn't affect the way she feels when she's playing her. I think it affects the way you play with her in lane, because now the Janna is either going to have to stand behind you or stand in front of you all the time, or you're going to have to be more mindful of where Janna is standing when you're poking and trying to use Janna's Tailwind to gain an advantage over the opponent. So the players that are now in sync with their Jannas are going to have a better time poking, and it's a nerf to anybody who is just using Janna's passive to gain something in lane or distance in lane, right?
Well, I kind of want to, because it kind of relates to this in a little way with a nifty little strategy. I kind of want to skip over to Mordekaiser's W change, Creeping Death, if you guys don't mind. Creeping Buddies. Now it also gains, Mordekaiser himself gains the effects of Creeping Death cast on an ally, including minions.
Well, first and foremost, I think we need to talk about Mordekaiser and then move into W, because like just talking about Mordekaiser's W doesn't serve anything that's going on.
I'm going to open with the W, then we'll talk about the rest of them. But they've changing Mordekaiser quite heftily. You know, they got a lot of changes here. They're calling it a quote-unquote rework, but it's not really. It's more like a tweak. But it's now pretty much double the cast of W with the little shards of metal that go around, do damage, and give you bonus resistances. But it has two new effects. One, you get the effect no matter who you cast it on, so you both have it. And then Mordekaiser and the ally with Creeping Death gain plus 60 movement speed when running towards each other. So will we see interesting things with Mordekaiser's casting W on Jaina and then getting that extra speed, or maybe... Like you said, you're worried about Jaina falling behind.
I don't think we're ever going to see Mordekaiser.
You don't think we're going to see him played?
No, because the first thing you got to look at is general base health regeneration has been decreased from 8.37 to 3.37. For somebody who casts and uses their
life-related spells,
losing that much base health regeneration early in the game is a significant nerf over the course of a laning phase.
Just they did reduce the cost of his spells, but you're right, that is a huge reduction.
I didn't feel like I was killing myself playing him though, but then again, I did rush the revolver, so that helped.
You also have to look at they've kind of done a similar hit to a champion before. Does anybody remember when Riven had a ridiculous amount of health regen? And
yeah, I do.
And then they hit it.
That sucked.
Yeah, it did. It really sucked when you were playing against her. But when they knocked that down a significant amount, it really hurt Riven players for a while. And then people kind of worked around it. They buffed a couple other things and really worked out. But
okay, so I need
the reduction of cost really does help.
Yeah,
nullify that because for one, it's 5 less health regen base, but your level 1 spell costs 5 less health to cast, unless it's Creeping Death, you know. Well, unless you're doing Siphon, I guess that's the same. But still, it's less to cast for the health, and I don't know. If you just get the right runes and mashes from Mord anyway, you're not really going to feel it.
Here's my problem with Mordekaiser, and it goes back to the thematics of a champion. It's kind of like what Ghostcrawler said. He feels like a champion who should be gated by mana, but obviously isn't because of the way his spells function, and that. I don't agree with the champion design that is gated by the runes. Like you don't have to take spell vamp, but
it helps.
It really helps to take spell vamp on Mord. I don't like that. I don't think that's good champion design to have to make up for his kit by taking those runes, for 3 times out of 5. Because I like the idea of having different runes, but to get a good champion, any runes should really suffice for him. It kind of goes back to the old Akali, where Akali had this like really significant rune page she had to run. It had like 2 AD and 3 AP. You know what I'm saying? You guys remember that rune page?
In order to gain both procs or passive at level 1.
Right. I agree with what you're saying. I think they shouldn't be any cost to it. Like he should be like Garen in that regard. Maybe increase the cooldown a little bit.
I don't like having to spend health to be able to use your abilities without having.
Right. But
Vladimir's the only one that makes sense because he gains life back.
On the flip side of that, though, he doesn't necessarily gain life back until he gets that revolver, but he does get a shield if he lands something.
Sure.
So, there still is a push-pull in that regard. Yeah,
you're moving your life somewhere else.
But a shield that decays over health that is permanent.
Right.
Which if you're comparing the way that the characters play, Vlad is obviously better in the fact that he gains permanent life and doesn't gain a shield that decays over time.
But the thing is, like, it's not exactly like he's absolutely using up one resource and getting nothing back for utilizing that one resource. He's trading instead of using mana. He's effectively trading health for a shield. So like he gets that health at least in the short term for trades, but in the long term, without that health regen, is he going to receive a net loss in health? Whereas before, you traded, you didn't lose that much health during the trade because you had the shield, but you had the health regen to make up for that in the early levels at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. You do feel like you are invincible, even with these health costs, when you're in the middle of a fight and your shield just keeps regenerating because you have good cooldown reduction. So
Mord is the only champion here that I think really needs DFG and really needs him to rework now that DFG is removed, because of he's kind of like got that Veigar thing going, and we'll talk about Veigar in a little bit. That if you look at these changes and you compare them to the Veigar changes because of the DFG removal, they did a way better job with Veigar than they did with Mordekaiser. No, because all they did with Mordekaiser was band-aid him to make him a little bit so he potentially sustains more in lane by having less mana cost and less health regen. Or not
yeah,
cost,
I think they're trying to change him a little bit too. They said this in the patch notes that with Veigar, you took away DFG, but you didn't really change. They were okay with him being that burst mage that's supposed to 100 to 0 somebody. Mordekaiser, in their idea, shouldn't be somebody who's 100 to 0ing people, and that's what he did with DFG. He would throw DFG ult, and then you suddenly have a ghost.
Yeah,
but
the thematics of a champion where you're like Ghostcrawler said, where you feel like you should be gated by mana, he's gated by cooldown. So if you blow your load and don't kill somebody, you do nothing.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that they're trying to change him away from that. They don't want him to be that kind of champion. They want him to be a big metal tank who's supposed to be a big metal tank, and instead you have a big metal tank that says "boop" and you're dead. Is not. It doesn't
make sense thematically. Yeah.
He used to be played more as an AP bruiser, like way back. I want to say closer
season
to
1.
Yeah,
season 2.
when I started playing this game, it wasn't uncommon to see, this sort of bruiser Mordekaiser. Yeah, exactly.
He could never break through his shield because he got so much
you couldn't break through his shield. He was arguably going to split push on his own. It was one of those situations where he started out kind of. It was annoying to play against him, but if you just let him do his thing, there would be a point in the game, sort of like Vladimir, where you didn't want to meet him anywhere because he was going to mess you up. And then
that's when he was really OP-ish. They consider him OP.
And then they ended up turning him kind of more into the faux mage that he turned into, and he's seen,
part of this I really think with him is just itemization. Yeah, he was that tanky, but the way items have evolved over time, there is nothing that screams AP bruiser. You're either a bruiser or you're a mage. You're not an AP mage because there's no items that give you tanky AP stats. I mean, besides like Rod of Ages.
Right.
Well, you also need something utility on him too, which the blood boil-ish creeping death now kind of does. It's still kind of iffy because you literally have to be running at each other, and then it's like, can we somehow zigzag so this works really well? Or
you have a minion behind you.
What?
Let me finish off with the 2 Ws though. They don't do double damage. Like you can't double team someone with your little creeping deaths and have it do more damage. It just does the 1 damage, unfortunately. Because I was thinking about this when I was looking at
that. Would have been cool.
Would have been neat.
I would have been all
guess
for that.
It was too crazy. And the health reduction, it was reduced by 6 health at level 1, all the way up to 10 health reduction at rank 5. The damage was nerfed as well. From 80 at rank 5 to 68 at rank 5 with a 0.15 ability power ratio instead of a 0.2. So it's a little bit less damage, but it's got that utility on it.
Though this is less damage, this is going to be a situation where, say, somebody's picking a jungler that's going to end up diving the back line. Let's throw, Jarvan or Olaf or anybody who's can kind of get in there and whatever. In the past, if you're playing Mordekaiser and you're squishy and you're not exactly going to be able to get in there and have your creeping death hitting that many people, or you cast it on something, this is going to be a situation, you have somebody that can dive, toss it on him, and then if they dive, you're also going to be doing damage to the person that's close to you or on you. Exactly.
Yep.
So
and making them tanky.
Mind you, this is a damage nerf, but if you have two of the exact same abilities, one doing damage in one area and the other doing damage in another area, it's like the whole idea of there's more total surface area that ability could be hitting, so the potential for more damage is there than it was before.
Yeah, and you're building AP now, or you should be. So the damage on it is actually not too bad. 0.15 ability power ratio. I did a game today.
Though is nothing.
I did a game today, and I'd gotten it up to like 130 damage per second, and it lasts for 6 seconds. So, if you're standing there the whole time, let's say you're standing there half the time, 300 damage isn't bad. Let's move to his other upgrades, because we were talking about how they were kind of shifting what their focus on him. Children of the Grave, his R. Enslaved Champions grant Mordekaiser, instead of the plus 20% of their attack damage and ability power, it's plus 25% of their bonus health and 30% of their ability power. So they want him to get more ability power. Maybe you choose to enslave a mage, or maybe a tank, depending on what you need. Do you want to be tankier? Do you want to do more damage?
Healths. Yeah.
If they have a Cho'Gath, Cho'Gath who's fed on the team.
Yeah, but that's not really a lot, because it's only bonus health.
Right.
And so 25% of 100 is 25. So if you've only received 500 bonus life, you know, you're only receiving 100. What, 125?
Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
Right.
Only 500 bonus life. No, there's a lot of items that give a fair amount of HP. Warmogs is pretty popular right now.
Right, but it's 25% of only the bonus HP. It's
right.
Not
250 health is pretty good, assuming that's the only plus health item they have.
What, 250? 25% of 250 though is terrible at math, so I'm not even going to try. It's not very much.
And 30% of
the
power, which
1,000 on Warmogs.
Well, if you look at the health and ability power,
I missed what you said.
The best thing is to have an enslaved carry, because you could just wreck them with it, and they're not going to have health or ability power, really. So this is kind of like a gravy thing. It's more about just having that extra champion in there to just rip them apart and do good damage. They gain, instead of 75% of Mordekaiser's total attack damage, because they realized most Mordekaisers aren't building attack damage, they just get a flat 25, 50, and 100, based on the rank of the ultimate, attack damage as a bonus.
And that's fine.
So that seems like a good tweak right there for it. Made it a little bit better.
So
well, and in a way,
reason to use it on everybody, pretty much.
Yeah, in a way, it gives its own kind of flavor depending on who you want to use it on. If you wanted to go like that Trundle route of, I'm going to end up using my ult on a tank and being annoying, there you go. You're going to be a little bit tankier. So say you
gotta kill the tank.
Yeah, yeah.
That's I think the issue with going for a tank. With going for a tank early, you're hoping like, Trundle, you run in, you get those stats, and you keep going.
Well,
like,
and
if
you're
talking about
the stats, and it reduces their stats, so you can kill it way quicker. This not so much.
Yeah, I like that you have a little bit more. You get a little bit more of an option, yeah. But the tank, I feel like you would have to have a very specific instance. Like if you caught a tank out by themselves and you said, "All right, we're gonna fight right after we kill this guy. Now I'll ult him and I'll get all this health." Maybe it still seems kind of
I know
lacking.
And you're not gonna really want a tanky slave unless
it's counterintuitive, is what it is.
Yeah,
I'm still underwhelmed by Mord's kit. Even his Q now gives him an extra 75 range when he hits it, which is nice because he can now swing his mace out, and he should.
It's okay. Yeah. It doesn't feel that close.
I mean, far. Even if it doesn't feel that far, 75 range is still
better.
Pretty great when it comes down to trading. I mean, like
it's like hitting a Vi and being able to get a little extra range,
hit.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean that's a quality of life thing.
Yeah. Let's move off of Mordekaiser. I mean, we've kind of beat him to the ground. There's other champions here to talk about. Let's move that back up to Jarvan, because he's right under Janna in the alphabetic list. And funny thing about Jarvan, something that Dom had been saying forever, is that he just gets too many free stats across his entire kit. That's what they do. Demacian Standard no longer gives Jarvan passive armor, because it was silly for a flag to give armor.
Okay.
It doesn't make any sense, really, when you think about it.
That's fine. And again, thematically, it doesn't make sense. But at the same time, if you're going to use that same reasoning for taking the armor away from that, thematically, why the heck does he magically get a shield from his W then?
That's not what thematics are, though. It doesn't have anything to do with. It's not thematics. That's
they didn't
reason he's
do it.
Getting a shield.
They just did that for the comedy of it. Why would a flag give armor? Because it's the game. But cloth armor is a thing in the game, and flags are made out of cloth, right? Come on. but they're nerfing him a little bit, so
no.
He needed it.
He did gain base armor, though. He gained 3 base armor, so he now has 27 rather than 24.
Right.
So that's the early. I looked at the early numbers. Apparently, and I kind of didn't know the numbers straight offhand. E was giving 10 at rank 1, so you're getting. It's not changing your clear speed necessarily, but it means that if you try to gank after an early first clear, you're going to be at least
lower health.
At least a good bit lower health, not a ton. So 7 armor is not crazy, but it's not. You're not going to be happy that it's missing. Like if you go to gank.
Right.
Well said.
And then they fixed a bug with Dragon Strike where enemies would occasionally get knocked up when they walked into Jarvan after he finished his dash already.
See, at this point, though, with Jarvan not gaining that extra armor on Demacian Standard, this I I think this pretty much this doesn't take a top Jarvan out of viability, but it makes Jarvan mid more accessible to, I guess. More players will play him mid rather than top, because top he was playing so well because you just max E and you could trade with your passive and not take any damage because you gain passive armor by just maxing E and then putting a few points in the W or whatever it was. Now top Jarvan it's all in or nothing.
And
just
what this also does,
like he belongs.
What this also does is it just bumps Vi up to a better priority.
And I was going to
pick
say that too. Yes,
there isn't any changes toward her at all on this list, and since Jarvan and her are kind of fighting for that top spot,
They are.
she's gonna take the throne for now.
Well, at this point in solo queue, I wouldn't even ban Jarvan. Hell, I wouldn't even ban Vi. I'd let anybody have the junglers. I think there's too many other priority picks like Nidalee, Kalista, Nidalee, Kalista, Blitzcrank, Katarina. I'm trying to think of
I dread
that need to be banned. Riven, all higher bans than a Jarvan or a Vi.
I don't know about, like, the thing with Jarvan, even with the armor nerf and the fact that and this is going to hurt him. It's going to hurt his ability to gank as often as he does or whatever. But he's still going to be one of the few junglers that can come in at really, really awkward angles. So he's always going to have, like, kind of a bit of an edge. Will this run into a situation where Jarvan will disappear for a while?
I don't think so.
I'd be surprised.
Well, no, he might fall out of favor a little bit, but the thing is, Jarvan was still really, really good for a long time, and it just took them to buff his W a bit and reduce the mana cost on it before people were playing him all the time, and they didn't really touch anything else. So, like, the champion's still great. It's just, will he fall out of favor because of perception of how strong he is?
Yeah, Jarvan is still a ban for me as a marksman because he limits who I can play. And this is coming from someone, marksmen don't like Riven. Riven and marksmen don't mix because Riven would jump on you and die in less than a second. But I'd still ban Jarvan over her because if I see a Jarvan, that means, all right, well, now I got to pick somebody with an escape.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Jarvan's always been that champion that whoever you're playing, if you played somebody like Nasus or Udyr or Olaf or anybody like that who doesn't usually get flash, you almost have to get flash if he's in the game with you, because if you get into that situation where you're trapped in the middle of a cataclysm and the other team's just wailing on you while you're stuck there fighting Jarvan, it's great in a 1v1 situation when you're playing a bruiser that outscales him, because it's like, okay, you trapped yourself in with me, that's great. But if you can't get to the rest of the team, or you can't do your job of diving the backline when you want to or something like that, and you don't have flash, you're like that. There's something to be said about a champion who can force you to choose something else just due to the fact that they're picked in a game.
Well, let's move on to Kalista.
I know that he's a little bit squishier. Sure, put me in the arena. Yeah, you said Kalista ban. I thought we were going to segue there.
Well, you kind of lagged out there a little bit. Your internet's eating his shit, so hopefully we'll move on and you won't rape my ears again with Robot DeClawd. Kalista,
I'm lagging?
You are lagging.
Yeah, you're lagging.
This is going to be fun for the podcast listeners.
Yeah, that's all right.
He'll drop out and come back in, so as he does it, we'll go ahead and mark this in the document, and Lancifer, the lovely producer that we have.
We love you, baby.
We love you, Lancifer.
So what are we at? 36, 57. All right, cool. Kalista, change. Sure, her passive, Martial Poise. Kalista's basic attack wind up. The time between starting an attack and it firing now speeds up at 66% of her attack speed. Much needed nerf. Thank you, Based Riot, for making it harder for her to kite you.
Here's the thing with Kalista. There got to a point in the game when you built enough attack speed where it felt like even if she had done poorly in the early game due to a bad matchup or something in the bot lane, she really wasn't that catchable unless your team had something like a Wither. Or, I mean, even Randuin's didn't even feel like it made that big of a difference.
She's impossible to catch. Impossible.
Yeah.
If she falls behind, it's not her kite ability that fell. It was her damage.
Right.
But if she could kite you forever and get enough stacks of Rand, that didn't really matter.
Hell, I watched one today. What was it? The Chinese League, where she chased somebody down by auto-attacking and leaping. That not the person was any faster than her. She was just able to, auto-attack, leap toward the person and just be at that range every time to get that next auto-attack off before she had to leap again. And at 66%, she would have never been able to chase that person down and do that.
So for somebody who hasn't played Kalista and has rarely seen her, this explain to me what that number change is, because those numbers don't really mean anything just based on paper to me. Does that mean she's taking longer to like start her attack and then can't cancel it and then move, or
there's a longer period of time between the start of her attack and when her attack actually goes off?
Wind up.
Right.
Okay, so
It's
it means she can't.
It's 33% slower.
Okay, but she can't jump nearly as quickly.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, it's basically like they're taking a 33% modifier from whatever like wherever in the game when she was attacking somebody and getting a jump. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just going to be arguably a 33% reduction for whatever attack speed she's at in her speed of moving around. So she's just going to be like, say you had a Phantom Dancer and something else. Whatever items that you have that you normally be able to attack, jump, it's just going to be 33% slower.
Okay.
Also keep in mind, and they mentioned this in the patch notes, that this affects her laning quite a bit since she can't cancel her auto attacks. So now that she's in a longer state where she can't move because she can't cancel her attack, she's more vulnerable during that time. So it makes it easier to use skill shots on her.
Okay.
If you time
Maybe
them
shut her
correctly.
down so she doesn't snowball as fast.
Right. It's the end of her attack where she actually throws a spear is 33% slower, or it is slower for her to throw that spear out like punch.
She doesn't get there quite as fast.
Right. So if you're still confused by all of that, basically if she stands there and throws it, she is slower throwing the spear than she was before. So meaning she can't jump as many times as she previously could because she cannot throw as many spears out.
Right. She takes a little bit longer to go back with the spear and hurl it.
Yes. So that is exactly how the Kalista change works.
I'm so happy with this because I am terrified of that champion if somebody knows how to play her.
Kassadin changes. Riftwalk, all to Riftwalk. You know what's funny? Let's give you guys a awesome visual update on Kassadin, and let's nerf the shit out of the range and base cost, or the range of Riftwalk. The Riftwalk range is 700 to 450. No damage decreases, nothing. He just cannot Riftwalk nearly as far as he could previously.
Can you get over terrain with that?
Oh yeah, if you're standing right next to it.
Yeah. This is going to be one of those situations where
Only special.
All right, if you thought you screwed up a Vi Q through stuff or like a Jarvan EQ combo through stuff, you're going to be wanting to be up close to whatever you're pressing before you try to rift walk over it, or else you're not going to get over it. You're going to be dead, and you're going to be like, what the heck, Kassadin's supposed to be OP.
I feel like this change was necessary a long time ago.
Yep.
Either they needed to make the cooldown longer, which they didn't want to do because it affected him
dramatically. Needed to hit him.
Or the range is also a good way to hit it. And I think if this hurts him enough, which I don't see any reason why it wouldn't, they could probably give him some damage back.
Well, that's the thing. In hindsight, if they would have done this before the way they had originally reworked him or whatever, do you think this would have just solved a lot of those issues?
It would have solved a lot. I think the new W is a lot better. It's actually useful now.
Right.
But
yeah,
this would have gone a long way.
This makes Kassadin though have to play a lot closer in team fights as well. He has to
put himself in a danger zone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. He's riskier.
I really like that last patch they had a change to Kassadin. It was really tiny, and they said we're really trying to tweak him back and figure out where we want to like put him perfect. And they took 10 damage off of his Q.
Yeah.
And then this patch, they fucking over.
They have
just out of nowhere.
We figured it out.
Good point.
We're gonna shove him in the ground.
The Riot Epiphany. I love it.
Riot was dipping their toe in the water, and the community just pushed Riot all the way in.
Yeah.
It'll be an interesting change. It'll be one of those where I have to watch. Rip Kassadin in professional play, probably. Rip Kassadin all over, probably not. I think he'll make a resurgence here in the next, 2, 3, maybe 4 months. Might be a little longer, even with that change. I don't think this nerfs him to the ground. I just think this makes him harder to play, and you have to have a higher skill level to play the champion.
He's still going to be mobile. It's just he's not as mobile, but he still gets a built-in flash when he hits 6.
Yeah.
That's still awesome.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to Katarina. Passive.
Let's also mention that they reduced the base cost from 75 mana to 60 mana to make up for it.
You start building it up.
So you might be able to Riftwalk one more time before you go Ohm. Maybe.
That's me. That's my face.
Probably not.
Mitch, I need you to chime in more often, buddy. You just need to like speak up. I know you're not afraid. When have you ever been afraid to talk?
Wow, Adam, just call him out.
I am calling him out. No, he just always he's looked silly
what was
here.
there to talk about on that? There was
No. I'm giving him a shit because he hasn't really talked much because we just keep interrupting him. And he's just
That's true. I have interrupted Mitch like 3 times.
I can get close to the mic and be louder if that works.
Well,
There you
DeClawd
go.
does the
Shout
same
through
thing
the
with Lee.
internets.
Whenever Lee comes on, DeClawd just comes in front of him every time he tries to speak. And it's what we do with guests.
oh.
We just interrupt them.
Yeah.
All right, passive veracity on Katarina. Scoring a kill or assist reduced the cooldown of Katarina's abilities. That was the old one. Now it says whenever an enemy champion dies within 3 seconds of Katarina dealing damage to them, her cooldowns were reduced by 15 seconds.
So
What
she's
was
got
the
a little
time on? What was the time on assists? Is it the same as kills with 10 seconds before?
The time on kills or assist?
How much it reduced it by?
No. The time that you have to have dealt damage to somebody or been involved in a kill to get qualified for an assist. Isn't it 10 seconds?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Oh, to qualify.
So you're dropping that. You're dropping that a significant amount. I know that usually Katarina jumps in, blows everyone up, and you get those.
Yeah.
You'll be well within that 3 seconds unless you forgot to roll your face on the keyboard. But in this sense, you wouldn't get one if you helped start a gank and then were chasing for so long, and then oh crap, 3 seconds, you don't get that. You don't get your cooldowns.
Well, this makes it so Katarina can't Q and then wait for the Q cooldown to come back up and Q again, then jump in. For example,
Yeah.
you have to commit. It's all or nothing at this point. And,
Well, and it's going to make it so that if you do engage and then you have to get out for some reason and you didn't, like your team ended up getting some stuff out and you kind of backed off and then you immediately re-engaged right afterwards because your team followed up and got kills, it's going to lower that window of being able to just immediately re-enter the fray. Because if you don't kill if you don't kill anybody within that 3 seconds, you're kind of shit out of luck until your cooldowns are back up.
It's going to seem weird because you're going to look like things are off cooldown, and all of a sudden they'll be on cooldown when those 3 seconds are up, right?
not if no one dies within those 3 seconds. Yes,
That's what I mean. Yeah.
and then you're gonna have to do damage again to get that.
And it's
reset.
like wait, you'll be mashing your keyboard a little bit more.
I don't think this
Oh,
change. I
we'll
don't think
see.
this changes anything for really good Katarina players, though.
It's harder to roll
Yeah.
your face.
I was thinking the
think.
same thing. I don't see this being a huge change for her. Because a lot of Katarinas, the way they snowball is they actually get the first kill.
Right.
I don't see a lot of situations where something like this would come into play, where they would queue and then back off for a long period of time until somebody else came and finished the job for them.
Yeah,
There's no way of her assisting. Like I the only thing I was thinking, and it was weird to even debate this in my head, is if she used like a heal or something to get an assist, and then use that to jump in later. But I don't know when that would ever happen. It's like, all right,
when
I'm
was
taking
the
heal.
last time?
I'm taking heal just so I can do this. Yeah.
I like the idea, though. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, right.
not anymore.
These are next level Katarina
Yeah,
plays.
Not doing that anymore.
Okay, before LCS could adapt it, it got nerfed out of the ground.
Well, Rengar changes. Bone Tooth Necklace. All trophy collection mechanics and bonuses have been removed from his trinket and now moved to a permanent stacking buff due to some bug issues with trinket upgrade paths. So you get it no matter what. You got it before. You get it no matter what now.
I remember being frustrated that I couldn't upgrade it at level 9. I had to wait for the trophies to upgrade themselves.
Oh, right.
So this
It makes
is nice.
me sad. I felt like it was a cool
Doesn't hate to
mechanic,
see.
but I mean, if it was too hard to maintain, then it is what it is. You had to get rid of it.
Syndra, Scout of the Week. Collision width of Dark Spirits has been increased. There's actually no math here to tell us how wide or how much wider they make them. But it's just the way
feels
it checks and everything. But it's just going to feel wider. So just take our word for it.
Thanks, Riot.
All right.
Thank you.
Base Riot has changed Veigar. I'm going to read all of the changes, and then I'm going to talk about why I think this is actually a good change and not a nerf to Veigar. And while I think you are wrong if you think it is a nerf to Veigar. Uh-oh. Monitors went weird. Anyway.
Okay.
So, Veigar, as he stands right now, is really he's gated by his event horizon, because if event horizon isn't up, he really doesn't do anything in a team fight. And they want to change that. They want to make him so he still is a burst mage, but he had more utility as kit essentially, and he does now. But utility comes in the form of poke, engage, siege, and we'll get into that. So Baleful Strike is now a skill shot that passes through the first target, stops at the second target hit, which It has a range of 850, and the cooldown has been decreased to 7, 6.56, 5.55, meaning with 40% cooldown reduction, it is now a 3-second cooldown. Keep that in mind as we go through this. And also keep in mind that if you kill 2 units with a Q, because it always goes to the first and it's the second, you get 2 AP. Ooh. So you could potentially get more AP because you can kill more units more quickly with Q.
Let me tell you how this works. Go on, Cheer. What was your question?
How quickly does his Q move?
It's as quick as before.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. It's more... When there are 2 units next to each other, it's not like double up from MF where you can clearly go through one.
Right.
It is like an AoE. If you have two melee units standing next to each other, you cast it, it'll hit those 2 melee units. So it's really hard to get it to go through and behind if you're trying to hit the champion, but because it'll hit, it's kind of like it's got a pretty big hitbox on that second hit. So it makes it really easy to farm the minion wave. And because when you have a non-cannon wave, when you have the 3 and 3, you hit your Q, you sit there waiting a little bit, and then you hit the 1 melee minion that's left. It'll go through, hit a ranged minion, kill it, and then you just hit an AoE those last 2, and you can get all of the Baleful Strikes adding to your stacks from a wave. No problem. Easy peasy. I played him a couple times today, and I love it. I love the Q. It feels so much better. And the fact that it's a skill shot, I got a kill in a bush and in a fog of war.
And it's a longer
very
range.
nice.
You no longer have to put yourself into a harmful spot to use the Q, like you previously did. Dark Matter cost has been decreased. It is now 70, 75, 80, 85, 90. It used to be 110 at max rank. Cooldown, now instead of static 10, it is now 10, 9.59, 8.5, 8, meaning with 40% cooldown reduction is 5. So keep those numbers in mind. 3 on Q, 5 on W. Do you see where I'm going with this? Because this is fun.
I don't see it.
Yes, this is going to be fun. Wait. Event Horizon now has a 0.75 second delay. The mana cost has been decreased. 80, 85, 90, 95, 100. It used to be 120 at max rank. The cooldown has also been decreased. It goes 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. And the range has been increased. So it has increased range, but it takes longer to appear. However, that 0.75 seconds, I've used it, and DeClawd could probably attest to this. It's a difference, but it's not like such a significant difference that it changes. It would have changed him if they would have kept the rest of his abilities the same way they work now. Right. The
time it would take him to hop the extra 50 range, maybe, but if you're doing like a max range one, but when someone's diving on you and you could instantly E if you properly positioned it to stun, that was nice. That does feel like a nerf there. But it's also, it's a very dim little line before it actually appears. Mm-hmm. So I've played against other Veigars where I see it and I'm like, oh, what's going on? How much time you kind of panic a little bit and then you still get stunned by it anyway. But you have a little bit more time to react and it's harder to land. It's a lot harder to land. But it still has the same effect. It's a big AoE zoning stun.
It's nice. It's nice from somebody else's point of view that you can't be zoned by this guy once he gets the E. Like he can't just drop it on your face at any point in time.
That's what good Veigars would do is they would aim it so that the stun would hit you immediately.
Yeah, exactly. So you just got to get practice with it. Practice, get used to it. If you're good at hitting Swain's Never Move, you'll be really good at hitting this one. I think it's slightly faster the way it comes up than Never Move,
faster,
right?
but it's also a slightly larger radius, meaning you don't get the slow or anything like.
And it
Never Move or anybody else.
persists whether it misses or not. It's there. It's the gate.
It's the same gate as it was before, except for now that it pops up and has lower cooldown. Primordial Burst has had a ratio decrease from 1.2 to 1. The cost has been decreased to 125 at all ranks, and the cooldown has also been decreased, so it is now 120, 180. And people are complaining that Primordial Burst having an AP ratio decrease is a bad thing, but they don't keep in mind that Baleful Strike can give you more AP throughout the course of a game, meaning that it's a needed nerf to an ability that could already blow you up. So.
And you're going to be able to use it more now.
And you can use it, 10 seconds more often.
What? Oh, no, it's going to hit a little bit less hard. You can use it. Yeah, you can use it now.
I was blown. I didn't care who I used it on. I didn't say only use it on a mage. I was using it on everybody. ADC, doesn't matter because you're stacking the mana. You're getting your stack so much faster with Q. It's ridiculous. I want to mention one thing about the W and the E. The E has a delay now. The W always had that delay. You can kind of time the two now. They can kind of synergize a little bit with the way they time and hit at the same time, pretty much. So you can hit your E first and then your W, and if they get stunned by it, they're going to get hit by the W instead of E instantly, then W, or a better scenario, W where you're going to hit, and then E if you can predict it that well, and they don't see it, the shine come down and move away. So it did feel like I was hitting my W's a lot more with this new E, even though it's tankier.
With this, to completely rewire how you're playing Veigar. Veigar is no longer that I have kill pressure, I'm going to blow somebody up as soon as I get hit 6. It's no longer the all in, I'm going to kill everybody champ. He is now like great anti-siege. Think of him like Ziggs, and the fact that he can completely nuke a wave as it's walking toward you. And he has that extra kill pressure and extra zoning utility with his event horizon. Plus, if any mage gets close to him at any point, they're dead in one shot. So he still can blow anybody up that he catches, but he also has a double function now where he's not so linear. And the fact that he can siege, he can anti-siege. Hell, he can make it rain with dark matter. At 5 seconds at max CDR, you can continually spam Q and W on an enemy team and force them out of position and be able to siege down a tower or siege a dragon or whatever it may be. So like Athene's on Holy Grail just become an amazing item on Veigar.
I don't think you need that kind of mana though. I feel like you're still going to go with Morello pretty much like every other AP carry now. Like, he's already got his passive for mana regen. Why? And Morello gives a ton of it anyways. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, Morello's good. The reason I would go Athene's is mainly if I was facing another Veigar and I just wanted that little edge on MR in case we double nuke each other. So I can come out alive and with 1 hit point. But yeah, Adam makes a good point. With the W, also the W dark matter is great when they decide to dive you. You just hit that W, hit your Q while you're running away, and then hit your E, and it kind of nullifies initiate. And if your team's doing what they're doing, let's say you're staying way back, they got to come into your W. They got to come into your E. So he's still deadly like that. He still has those functions, but the Q now serves that purpose too. It's a zoning tool.
Something that's not been stated really well, like that people didn't understand when they first saw these changes, is that despite that, the nerfs to Event Horizon and the small ratio nerf on ult, everything else is a buff. Every single change for Veigar is a buff here, and it's just making everything go faster. The cooldown on Q actually just kind of tweaked because it has a higher cooldown at higher cooldown at higher ranks than before. But you're getting so much, like, that range difference is so huge because now that you can't just drop E and blow them up, run away, you have to put yourself into a bit scarier of a position. And now having that 200 extra range and making it a skill shot means that you can at least try to put out some damage without, like, if you take away that skill shot part and leave it at 650, you're probably dying, I don't know, 50% more of the time as Veigar when you try to do anything.
Yeah, I love the skill shot, and the 200 range is nothing to.
Oh, it's nothing to scoff at all. No, I disagree with anybody who says this is a total overall nerf to Veigar. I just think you're not looking at what the champion has been changed to do now, or you're not thinking outside the box. You're still looking at the old. It's kind of like looking at old Rengar. Remember when? Well, I'm going to hold on to this one. Remember when we said the new Rengar was pretty good, and people were still calling him bad, and like 3 months later, no changes got made, and people were like, "Oh, Rengar's really good now." I think the same thing is going to happen to Veigar.
Yeah,
I think the same thing is going to happen to this guy.
There's one more thing that still has to happen though, and it's the next 120 AP item.
Oh yeah.
Once that comes out, that could completely change how Veigar works. Like, we don't know what it is. I don't think there's been any.
There's
noise
been a hint on the PBE.
Like there was a move speed one, I think.
Right.
But. And that wouldn't be quite the same as the DFG. Like, you're not going to get that back. But once you have that, you need just straight AP usually on Veigar. It's not like
he doesn't need the DFG. He never needed the DFG either.
I rush Xeraths on. I get a tier and rush Xerath's Embrace because he doesn't have any mobility. It's great to have that shield, that extra shield up. And the max level 18 with just the Xeraths adding mana, nothing else adding mana, you have 128 AP from that item. That's pretty sick.
Solid. Yeah.
And you have that shield, which is 25% of your mana, or 20% of your mana, I believe, when you're using it for your shield. So it's just great. When someone dives, you just pop that shield, pop barrier, nuke everything on top of yourself, and if you don't kill them, then flash away and throw another Q because it's cooldown by then. So he feels much better. He feels a lot better.
I do think you could pick him now into like Xerath if you really wanted somebody, that wasn't Ahri. If Ahri's banned, you could play him into Xerath now because you have that siege to combat it. It again, in my opinion, I'm gonna take back and look at him as like he's like a Ziggs now. He's very much anti-siege. So
because when he's charging his Q, he's slower. You might be able to hit your E a lot easier on him now. So
or W or E around. Yeah, you can E around him and force him to be in a bad position for something or whatever. Maybe.
What do you think about support Veigar though with this E? Because that's pretty much.
I don't think support Veigar is official
gone.
anymore.
Gone. Okay.
Gone. That was the whole point. Like that being instant. Sorry, I shouldn't say the whole point.
Yeah.
It was gigantic, and I think that I was talking with Pone about this earlier. I thought it would have been funny if the first time that you see Veigar support in the LCS, even after it's been in Korea for a while, the next 2 days later they nerf him and kind of eliminate it. Even though the PB changes were already there, I feel like some people might say, "Oh my God, Lemon's just fucked now. They don't like him.
Lemon did this. Oh my God,
Riot hates C9."
But yeah.
I may end up eating my words here, but I'm also kind of happy that Q is no longer a point and click, because there have been a few games where I'm playing marksman and Veigar will run up to me, press Q and R. He doesn't even need the stun. He just presses Q and R and I die. And I cry.
He DFGW somebody else and they nearly die.
Yeah, pretty much. He didn't need to use the E on me as a marksman. No, he just needs to point and click QR and I'm dead. I'm like, oh, that was fun.
I'm glad I could counterplay
that, right? But now I can.
Skill shatter.
Yes, there's the counterplay, but at the same time, if he doesn't get engaged on immediately, especially if he's able to drop more Ws and his Q can now hit technically 2 people,
right?
And you get caught in a narrow area in the jungle,
that's why I'm saying I might eat my words here.
Yeah,
it'd be more of a nightmare than before.
That's exactly like if you can't get to him to murder him before he's able to just pump out abilities into a small area where there's not that much room to move around it, I have a feeling he's going to be, I'm not saying it's, Rumble Equalizer-esque sort of zone control, but everybody has seen a Veigar delete somebody off the map if he's fed.
Yep.
Think about that now, but his Q is now hitting 2 people. And he's dropping almost twice as many Ws.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's talk about Xerath. Now, since we spoke of him, since we're talking about Siege and Champions, his Shocking Orb maximum duration is now down to 1.75 seconds from 2.25 seconds. And for somebody who's dominating so well in the, in every piece,
he needed this.
Yeah. If somebody is on Xerath, you shouldn't be able to get them off you between your stun and your W and your E, because you could pretty much lock somebody down from 0 to 100.
Well, that's the other thing too. If you were able to land that E and you had somebody, let's throw Pantheon in there, or somebody with a really solid CC straight out of the jungle, you could kill somebody real easy. That stun just felt like it lasts forever, and it was great when you were playing him, but when you were on the receiving end of that, it's just like, man, you may as well wear a watch and look down at that shit, because by the time that stun ends, you're probably dead.
For a 1-point wonder, 2.25 seconds is
a long time.
Yeah, it's going to feel harder for as Xerath players. You're going to not quite get off that Q finisher, or usually the Q, E, W, Q again. Maybe you lose one of those with that, so they'll be able to move out of the range of it or something. So it's going to feel worse, obviously.
Okay, maybe you have a little less kill potential on somebody in those sort of situations, but at the same time, like, he's still got massive wave clear. He still can assassinate people from far away if he's able to land his ult. He still has pressure to hit people from a completely different lane. So what if he can't all in you? He has a lot of other stuff going for him.
Yeah, and that's not a 0.5 second nerf across the board too. It's going to scale down to the, I guess it's I think I just checked 0.75 seconds is the minimum stun, and that's that 2.25 second was only when you hit him at max range with that E.
Yeah.
And if you can't dodge a max range E, it's either because you already got stunned beforehand, or because you are incredibly slow, because that thing does not move fast.
Right.
Or it's just in the midst of a giant team fight.
Yeah, if it's a follow up engage, yeah. But it's I think midway through you're only losing a half second if you're hitting them at that middle range. So that's not as big of a
I mean, you could also say that if you shot it over a certain amount of terrain and you're near the edge of a wall, you wouldn't be able to necessarily even see it coming, so you're going to get clipped by the end of it anyway, just from where he's at. So, but I don't know. It's still going to be. It's just, if he can get that full range thing off, not as much kill potential. That's all it is.
Zilean.
The person who everyone's going to be
reword.
trying to play. Everyone's going to be trying to play, and right after this game, in houses.
Oh,
immediately.
God.
Pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Zilean changes all across the board. Basically, Zilean now has his Q is kind of like a quirky Q where he lobs it. Bloop. And if you land 2 of them in a row, you get a AoE stun for 1.5 seconds. But it has to land.
How would you
on the
land
champion.
2 of them on the same target? Unless they do something crazy like stick to the target.
Stick to the target and then use rewind to be able to do it again? Weird. But
Doesn't sound like Zilean at all.
yeah, right. So these time bombs, they fly over and they lob like a quirky Q. They land on your head. They stick to your head and they take 3 seconds to tick rather than 4. The cooldown has been decreased. It's longer early, shorter late. The cost has been decreased across so you can throw more of them more often, basically. And the ability power ratio and the damage has been decreased because how much easier it is to land them because there has been a range increase thanks to it being a skill shot.
Right. 200 range, just like Veigar.
We should also mention that even if you miss with the lob, if the enemy walks near the bomb, it will attach to them.
Right.
Oh
So-
my god.
Yeah, warning for everybody playing against Zilean, do not approach the bomb. Stay
one
away
thing-
from the
so-
bomb.
So he can effectively zone people now.
Yes.
All right.
So Zilean throws the bomb. If it lands on somebody, and he immediately rewinds and throws another one and hits you, and somehow hits you with it, because you should be running away at that point that you have a Zilean bomb strapped to your forehead. And you run into the team, and he lands an extra bomb on you. He now has a area of effect 1.5 seconds stun, which if you can.
That's
wrap your-
gross.
Yeah, it's
That's a
kind of
long
gross.
time.
I wonder if it's the same
I
kind of
haven't seen
AoE
this
as
yet.
before.
I want to see it.
The same AoE as before, maybe? Like
If
that
it's
kind
the
of
same
stun range.
size,
Yeah.
It doesn't say that they changed
Nerfed it at
the
all, yeah.
area. That's a good
Yeah.
question.
But
Well,
but we
think
also
about-
don't. Yeah.
I was going to say, think about Tristana Zilean combinations. First of all, they both have sticky bombs. Second of all, when Tristana gets her ult, you throw a bomb on somebody and ult them into the rest of the team, and boom. If you can get those two on there.
Oh, somebody with 2 bombs on them? That is some next level shit right there.
And then you throw it. Then you just have the
cool
AoE
is that
bomb
gonna
from
be?
Ziggs landing down on your forehead. What do you do?
Bomb
Oh, and then
squad.
Veigar puts an
We
E
need to put
around
together
you,
a bomb
so you can't
squad
move.
team.
Can we do that?
Bomb
Okay,
squad.
so one thing that's probably going to change, and I think it's probably the most important change with that time bomb, is that Zilean is now going to be perma-banned. Because if he, at that cooldown, he could just throw bombs and keep you stunned
forever.
constantly. It'd be hilarious, but you can't do that. That would be unbelievable.
Rewind. Rewind no longer reduces the cooldown of Chrono Shift, which is his ultimate, so you can
Darn.
but Chrono Shift has had a overall cooldown reduction, significant. It was 180 across the board because the rewind would reduce the cooldown of it. However, the cooldown is now 120, 90, 60, which is affected by
pretty
cooldown
big.
reduction.
That's huge.
Yeah.
It pretty much serves the same purpose as it did before, because I think with a little bit of
Yeah.
cooldown reduction, you end up getting it about the same time if you were spamming Ws.
I think
you don't
overall, spamming rewind, you could get Chrono Shift up faster than 60 seconds even.
Could you?
This might be a bit of a nerf.
Well, that's why I said
But,
with some
I mean, you
cooldown
still have it up
reduction,
for every fight, so it really doesn't matter in the...
Right, now you don't have to use it for that.
Well, and
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if we're gonna keep talking about Chrono Shift, the reduction, the 2-second reduction is huge too.
Oh,
because
thank God.
it came to a situation. Say that they had an assassin and a Zilean on their team, and you had the assassin really low,
But you
but
can't
Zilean
kill him.
ulted
7
him.
seconds.
You can't kill him, or that assassin's coming back with a fury.
Right.
You're going to
but now
dance
that-
for 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Please don't
So
do
now that window of you not where you shouldn't kill them because they'd come back and murder your face. Now that window is 2 seconds shorter. So that's
I like that a lot.
yeah, that's
Well,
better.
Chrono Shift was nerfed at earlier ranks. It's not as bad late game. Late game, it's pretty much the same. Earlier ranks, it's been nerfed. You don't get it up as often. But for somebody that now has extended
utility
zoning
AoE.
pressure that he did
is-
before.
He
Uh,
is
we
an
didn't
old
talk-
man. You shouldn't get it up as often.
Now that we can talk about time warp with his E, duration is a flat 2.5 seconds at all ranks. See, Mitch laughs at these. We try to ignore them. Like I just move straight through. I power straight through
Back
it.
away from the mic. The listeners will have no idea.
Yeah, I'm pulling a Taze on day. Back away from the mic for that.
Day. Slow amount has been changed. It was 55% across all ranks now. 40, 55, 70, 85, 99%
Okay.
slow.
Okay. The 99% slow.
God.
That's awesome, but you may as well make it a root at that
No,
point.
because then, well, yeah, root. I was gonna say that would interrupt channels.
Yeah,
You may
no,
as
it's
well
not
make
a
it a
root
root.
because he can't interrupt things with it.
Well,
He would have to stop time in order to root you. He can only slow it down. Stopping time
he
is way too
can't
powerful.
do that.
No, he can't do that.
And the
But, I mean-
range has been significantly decreased. However, it was
Okay,
700.
so he
It
has
is
to
now
put himself
550.
Kind
Yeah,
of in a
that-
spot.
You might want to make note of that, though. That's not as big of a nerf as it was, but as it
It's a 75
sounds like.
range reduction actually
'Cause they
just
changed where the
hitbox.
particles are. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's a 75. It's a 75 range reductions because they changed it from what is it, the middle of him to the outer edge rather than the
Of his
edge
hitbox.
of his hand to the outer edge or whatever.
Yeah, they changed middle to middle to edge to edge.
Yeah.
Okay, so the synergy with this bomb should be obvious here. Once you max E, you've got an easy setup for the second bomb to hit somebody and get your stun off. Because they can't move. They can move at 1% movement speed, which is essentially not moving.
I want to see
So
this. I haven't seen one
somebody in
yet.
chat did bring up a great point where if they were rooted, they wouldn't be able to flash, but since it's a 99% slow, you can still technically flash through it.
Well, that's pretty much it. You can't do a
So-
lot of things when you're rooted. You can't. Well, if you're rooted, I guess if it's a Moo is a stun. It just the wording on it. Well, no, a Moo is a root, isn't it? Is it a Moo's alt
Yeah.
to root? Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's a root.
Curse
You
is a
can't do
root.
anything.
It used to be a stun, and then they changed it to a root.
Right. That's the thing. When you're rooted, you can't do anything. It's basically a stun.
You can still attack.
Yeah.
can
Yeah, you can
while
still
you're rooted.
attack. You can use certain
Will it interrupt
abilities.
a channel? Will a root interrupt a channel?
Yes.
It
They
does?
changed it before that if you root
Okay.
somebody like with a ZZ'rot E or like a Maokai W, it stops the channel.
Okay.
Because like teleport in the top lane couldn't be stopped if you W to them and you just missed.
Because
the
it didn't
kill.
used to. A long time ago, but
I am. We'll do 65% certain. We'll even bring that up to 85% certainty that you can root somebody and stop them now. Because I want to say I remember reading that in a patch note a while ago.
But I mean, with the Maokai thing, yeah, you can't W. I
Well, you
don't
can
know.
WQ, but
That's the thing. Is Q was the thing that would knock people out of being able to teleport. So I don't know. God, I really want to just test this because it's bothering me that I don't know this.
after the
just
show,
go look it up. You can just type it into
Yep.
Google.
Google it.
You'll find the patch note. I swear to God, there's a patch note a long time ago. Doran's Shield fixed a bug where Doran's Shield wasn't blocking 8 single target spell damage. Womp womp. Jungle items, which is something that I saw a lot of people complaining about on Twitter, and I don't understand why you're complaining about this because we called it. Okay, so anyways, cost to change between tier 2 jungle items was 0 gold. It is now 225 gold to change between those tier 2 items. If you complaining about this, you obviously abused it, and your abuse has not gone unnoticed.
yep, no more Rangers first back
Should've seen
on
this coming.
Pantheon.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like,
Okay.
what more is there to say? It's just the cost to change between your items, because so you can't
Right.
go and just randomly.
No more
decide
auto
you want-
Rangers at 450 gold.
Right.
You can't just decide I want stalkers now, and there is nothing stopping me from picking up this next item to get stalkers for a team fight if I want it.
Right.
There should be a penalty for you having
Except
to
for the
switch your
fact that you
abilities.
enchanted already. You know, you're holding back your enchantment if you're holding on to that. so.
Everything else makes it costs you money to switch between them. So why doesn't this?
Speaking of enchantments, the warrior enchantment has 5 less damage.
Chira, 5 less damage and warrior enchantment. Go.
The enchantment's still fine. Like, it's still going to be good on whoever is going to be building it. The nerfs to the Devourer enchant still more significant than the 5 missing damage on warrior enchant. So people are still going to be building warriors. There you go.
I was gonna say I read -5 damage. I was kind of like, woo!
Not that big of a
Okay.
deal.
I'm doing a
How
little
much-
less damage.
How much did they take off of Devour? Wasn't it like 15 or 20 when they nerfed it?
It was a lot, and then
Yeah,
they,
it was a significant portion. So
Yeah.
like 5,
And then
you're doing
on
1/9
hit
of it
tags.
right now.
Yeah.
It's like nothing.
I should.
And
I
then
feel like
then
I
they
need.
hit Warwick on top of that. So
I need like
Yeah.
an item. I need like a database of all the patch notes just available in front of me, so I can just type things like devour. I mean, I can do it in wiki, obviously, but
right.
make it really, really easy. That's why it just pops for this shit right up, so I can answer these questions.
Yeah.
ZZ'rot portal. I will. So ZZ'rot portal now is more intelligent in finding what lanes. Because if you ever dropped in some funny places, it'll like go to the complete like a lane that's not actually closer to where ZZ'rot is, and then it'll be a waste. They on the PBE. I did see after 5.4 got released, one of the writers was on Twitter and she said that there's a bunch of changes and ZZ'rot portal is actually being buffed on the PBE. So we have that to look forward to next.
Interesting.
They just kind of give you a teaser. They also said they're playing with tier 2 tower shield removal. No longer
on mid lane, I saw that.
Yep, no longer has the shield. And what was the other? There was a couple other significant changes, but there's some other really funny
little mini
stuff
home record kind of things
coming here.
And then Revive's gone.
I also heard
Smite.
Right.
Go ahead.
Sorry, one last silly comment on ZZ'rot portal was I heard how to pronounce it on LCS, and it's supposed to be something like ZZ'rot portal. Instead of ZZ, it's supposed to be some sort of like void spin. So
Lady
ZZ'rot. I'm gonna keep calling it the ZZ top portal because that's just much cooler.
Don't give me hard things to pronounce, okay? Just
letting everybody know.
Just give me a
Since
hard
I know people are wondering
rot.
about this.
The only thing I want is a glass of liquor. So,
Which is why you're
Okay.
drinking a bottle of wine.
White
like,
wine.
isn't that cute? Do you want to see for scale? Here's a thing of salt for scale. Wow, look at that.
You don't have a banana for scale?
Yeah, where's
I
your
can't get the
potato?
proper scale
Well,
without
hold
banana.
on. You know, it's probably not safe for work if I have a banana for scale. So we'll.
It's Soraka.
Put your pants back on.
Smite range is now shorter when used against champions, but isn't that much shorter against jungle monsters. Because, like they said in here, so let's just be honest, chilling Smite is just too high because it essentially gave engaging champions an extra bit of range to engage on somebody because of the significance of the slow. So they changed where the hitbox is on it. It is essentially a 175 range decrease.
Right. Your edge to their edge instead of your center to their center. Bam.
Your center to their center.
I gotta say though, this is just coming back to that. Remember when Rangers was the best all-around pick sort of thing for multiple situations? Kind of starting to swing around back that way.
Yeah.
I just buy Rangers now because
When
I
in
don't
doubt-
want to deal with. I don't
buy
want to have to deal with potentially my Smite being off a cooldown.
Well, and it's not
Or
just
on
that
cooldown,
too.
rather.
Look at it in a situation where, say, somebody moved across, or was attempting to move across something that you're trying to smite, and then you accidentally use chilling smite on them. Your smite's on cooldown, and then they just take it
Right.
because of hitboxes or whatever. You wouldn't make that is completely removed from this situation if you have Rangers. So there's a little bit of push pull on that. I don't know. We'll see how big of a reverberating effect this has as people play around these changes.
Speaking reverberation. DJ Sona has been released. You see my
That
Oh,
skin
yeah.
is phenomenal.
You like my seg?
Oh,
I
it's a
tried
work
to
of
seg
art.
with that. It was just terrible.
It's got the.
You make me feel like I'm at home.
Reverberation.
You make me feel like I'm on the LCS rundown.
my segs are good. Unlike Montnagora, my segs
Stop
are actually
saying
good.
segs. Are you serious?
My segues.
Segs.
My segues.
I know
are
what you
actually
mean.
Good.
I know exactly what you
No,
mean.
I'm doing it because I fucking Mott. Mott says segs. Like he's fucking. What
No,
is his
he says-
T-shirt or some bullshit that he wanted to put together? Yeah, see. Mott wants to put some T-shirt together that only he's gonna buy. That says like, what did it say? And now for the seg or something. I can't remember. It's something.
Speaking of segues.
Speaking of segs, that's what it says. Not segues. Just speaking of segs. And yeah, he's the only person in the world, and it has some stupid hashtag about Mott.
I would buy it. I would buy it.
And
I'd
then
also
rip it
burn
up
it
on
live
chat.
on stream. Yeah.
Anyway,
I love you, Mott.
DJ Sona she has dethroned Frostblade Aurelia for Dad Ash.
Dad ass.
Oh yes. the way they
I never thought
the way
about
they
that.
designed it.
Frost Booty Aurelia.
Yeah.
Yep. it
No
is now
longer sitting on the
DJ
throne.
Booty Sona.
I
Yep.
just want to listen to the tunes in game, so somebody play it in houses tonight, so I can listen to the.
Yeah, you hold
Oh,
tab and
I'm
then you
sure.
see the little icon next to her portrait out in the main screen.
Just like the Udyr skin, I will be heavily tempted to buy this, even though I hardly ever play Sona.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm
hey,
not gonna buy it.
Dom, where's that mystery gift at? You
Yeah,
already got
right.
me one.
Dom, you better start
ultimate
going.
skin. Let's go, baby. Don't let me down.
DeClawd had mentioned earlier, Revive has now been removed, so rip Revive. Enjoy your time with Heart of Gold and Philostone and the rest of the gold.
Sapphire Grass.
Force of Nature was my favorite.
Lucky pick.
I liked Innervating Locket.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Jeez.
I've been playing for so long that I remember
throwback.
Innervating Locket on Udyr, he was like a Mundo.
Oh yeah, that was the Udyr item.
Infinite health and mana. It was good times.
I think that's it, actually. I think that's everything. I think that's patch 5.4. Mitch, did you enjoy your time on the podcast?
No, we didn't talk Bard.
I'll bring you back for Bard. Do you want to come back on Monday for Bard?
You know what? That's how Mitch does this. He just sits back, doesn't say anything, and then he puts on a real sad face at the end. And it's like, we didn't talk about what I wanted to talk about.
Here's how we do it.
What about the after podcast? We could do an after podcast now.
What? Shut up.
Podcast.
Here's how this is gonna work.
The after T-Force after hours.
Here's how this is gonna work: is that Chira is not gonna be on Monday's podcast because he's coming on Saturday, and Mitch is gonna come out and talk about Bard. Like Chira's giving me like, but boss, I want to
but where's my say in this?
But I want to talk about Bard.
Meep. All right.
It's all about me.
We'll find a way to get Mitch out here because he wants to talk about Bard. So I think it'll be a lot of fun to have Days and Mitch talking about Bard.
The support battle.
I need
Sounds good.
a PV account by then. I really want to play a.
Just talk to me. I'll get you one.
No.
Okay, fine. Don't talk to me then. Jesus fucking Christ. If you guys want to get a King DeClawd t-shirt, please go to teespring.com/KingDC. They're $16 and $3.50 shipping if you are in the United States, $7.50 if you're in Canada, $10.50 if you're international. Actually, I think it's actually $3.85 if you're in the United States, but regardless, it ends up being under $20 for the t-shirt. It directly supports us. You get an awesome... It's a very high quality t-shirt. It's not something you're going to go pick up from like Meijer. It's an American Apparel t-shirt, so it's going to survive washes.
And you could also look at it like this, like if you guys pick this up, this is just sort of a pilot project for future awesome things
t-shirts
to come. So like in a way, if you pick these up to support us, that's just a way for us to continue putting out awesome stuff.
We have a bunch of other designs, but don't sleep on this because there's only 50 of these King DeClawd t-shirts available, and once they're gone, they're gone. They're gone forever. I'm not bringing them back. So DeClawd will have one to make the crown bounce.
Yes.
And if you want to make your crown bounce, go to teespring.com/KingDC and go purchase yourself one of those t-shirts. And we will have more t-shirts in the future. I think we're working like do you want to do something stupid t-shirt? We're actually working on a bronze boot camp t-shirt as well. But this is like the trial run. So if you guys make this happen, there will be more. There'll be a lot more, and they'll be priced, and they'll be priced from anywhere from like $13 to $20. It just depends on the style of the t-shirt. So with that said, guys, again, teespring.com/KingDC. Thank you so much for listening to Trinity Force Podcast. We will all see you on Monday when we talk about Bard. Peace.
Bye, guys.
We love you. Bye.